Welcome on Speak Your Mind. I'm your host, Shamilochan Lal. So today we're going to talk about termite crisis in Fiji. Is it something to worry about? What are termites? I have Janesh Ram, who's an entomologist. You study insects, Janesh, right?
Exactly.
Welcome on Speak Your Mind, Janesh.
Thank
And
you.
then I have the project officer termites, Ronak Sharma. Thank you for coming on the show. And you both are from Biosecurity Fiji.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Let's talk about termites. We've been hearing the fact that, and we've been watching some advertisements on FBC TV and our radio stations about the threat termites pose to us. We'll talk about, is it something to really worry about? But before that, tell me about termites. Are there different types of termites?
First of all, thanks very much for giving this opportunity. Based on your question on termites, they are different species of termites. So altogether in Fiji there are 14 species. Out of 14, one is more devastating pest. It is known as Asian subterranean termite, and the species is Termites castroi. Well, if you say about termites, is it um, very harmful or not? But we regard as all termites are considered as pests.
So they do cause some damage, and they are causing damage at the moment.
Exactly.
What species is causing the damage? There are 14 different types, 14 different species. Which one is the most damaging kind?
The most damaging kind is the Termites castroi. It causes the damages like in massive, very, very devastating.
Yeah. And which is the termite which is affecting the Lotoka and the other areas?
Yes. So this Termites gastroi, as mentioned by the entomologist, is the local name is Asian subterranean termites.
Right.
This is the second most destructive termite in the world.
And which is in Fiji?
Which is present in Fiji. And you have it in the Lotoka district and in the Lambasa district. Certain areas in the Lambasa district which is infested with these termites, and certain areas in Lotoka district.
Okay.
So, as mentioned by the entomology, the damages are done by all 14 species, but massive damage is done by this Asian subterranean termite, which is currently managed by BEF.
So as we speak, we are, what you're trying to say is there are 14 species of termites, and currently all are causing damage.
Yes.
But the most damaging one is the one you just mentioned.
Damage.
Yeah.
Significant damage is done by the Asian subterranean termite.
So today we've gathered together with Biosecurity to talk about a termite crisis in Fiji. Is it a big concern? Is it a big worry, or we are somehow managing it? Why are we talking about termites on this show?
Well, operationally, we are trying to do our best to contain the AST infestation within the infested zones. So as mentioned before, we have 2 infested districts, certain areas in those infested districts, and BEF has procedures in place. They are putting in strategies in place just to contain the infestation within those areas.
Okay.
Now, what we can say is that yes, it causes economical damage. The damages are very significant. It costs millions of dollars. So we have a team currently based in Lambasa and Lotoka who are currently registering complaints from the general public. And as we receive complaints, we attend the site, we conduct inspections, and if it's confirmed for this species of termite, which is AST, then we conduct our treatment, and then we monitor it on a monthly basis to ensure that the site is fully eliminated with this kind of infestation.
Thanks, Ronak. So going back to Janesh, where did the termites come from, and when did they come, or because they were always present in Fiji and we didn't know about it?
Termites, okay, let me tell a little brief on what they do.
Yes.
Termites are scavengers. So mostly they are feeding in forest. That means they recycling. Their role is to recycle the dead organism, mostly the plants, plant or plant material. So like your question is basically where they came from. Many of the species were here, and one of the species that we're talking about is Termites castroi. Now Dead copper Termites gastroi is new to Fiji and it is only present in Lotoka and Lambasa. So we believe that maybe came in Fiji by hitchhiking. Somehow it came, but long years back.
And at that time, when we talk about maybe 10 years back or 20 years back, they did not pose any threat. But now we're seeing that it is causing damage in Lotoka and in the northern areas, which we're going to talk about, how destructive are these areas. How fast do they travel to new places? Because whenever I watch an ad on FBC TV on termites, I'm concerned, will it reach Suva too? I mean, neighboring places like Singatoka, Ba, and some areas in north, how fast do they travel?
Okay, what we can say in this regard is that termites, they fly. Yeah, that's how they migrate from one place to the other. So that's the swarming period is towards the end of the year. Now, going back to your concern, if it can reach Suva, it is possible. It is possible to reach Suva, but the only mode of transportation from them for them from the west to central would be physical mode. That is, if people are transporting infested materials out of the infested district without perhaps knowingly or unknowingly. And then what happens is that the colony can establish in the central division. But as far as their flight mode is concerned, their flight is not for a longer period. And it all depends on the wind direction as well. So when they start flying, as soon as they detach wings, whichever place they fall, then it builds up into a new colony.
Okay. So someone has to transport them, right? How long does it take the termites to eat the house away? They're taking mostly wooden houses or cement houses as well?
They normally attack wooden houses because that's what they feed on. It is the cellulose component in the wood which acts their food source. So, but they do, if you perhaps you're having cracks within the walls, cement walls, they do use that cracks as a passage to move into the building structure and move into the timber zones. And commenting on how fast it can
eat away the
households. As mentioned before, this is the second most destructive species, and out of the 14 species, this has the fastest feeding rate. That is the very reason it causes most damages in a very short span of time.
So do the termites, which we are talking about now, do they damage houses or plants as well?
They do feed on plants and houses. As I've mentioned, they feed on timber or timber products.
Looking at the plants, mostly they feed on the horticultural plants like mango, breadfruit, and citrus.
Do they take the fruits or just the timber?
No, they'll feed on the stem.
Okay.
And what happens when they feed, they'll make the plant hollow. And when there's a high wind, then obviously it will going to fall. That's how they damages.
Destroy the plants, right? We'll take a break, and when we come back, we want to know what is the situation now in Fiji. How badly is Lambasa or Lotoka infested with termites? Like I said, is it a concern for us to bring this topic about termite crisis in Fiji on Speak Your Mind? You may have some questions that you would like to ask, so do call us soon after this break. This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM and on FBC TV. Do call us in regards to this situation. We're talking about crisis, a termite crisis in Fiji. So, what is the situation now in Fiji? How badly is Lotoka affected, and how badly is Lambasa affected, and for how long?
Currently, with reference to whatever reports that has been registered in our office in Lotoka and Lambasa, currently we have 13 areas in Lambasa, which is infested with AST, and then in Lotoka we have 14 to 15 areas, which then breaks down into different streets and areas. I mean, like for example, in Lambasa we have Valibasonga, Vunivau, Soasoa, so which then breaks down into different streets, And roughly, just for 2017, speaking about this year, till date we have recorded almost 1,000 houses which have been infested of AST.
More damages is being done, you mean to say? It's more widespread now?
Yeah. So what we can conclude is that we are receiving new complaints. So new complaints would mean that the infestation is either increasing, or there is people are now trying post our awareness campaigns. They are now checking their homes for signs, and they are registering their complaints to officers.
So tell me, Ronak, when did biosecurity decide to create awareness on termites? When you thought it was getting out of control, or when you thought it was timely?
Okay. What happened is this project started in back in 2009. Yeah. So referring back to your question, when it came to Fiji, it was reported back in 2009. We cannot say when it came to Fiji, but what we can say is that
Cases.
yeah, it started. Our project campaign started in 2009. From then onwards, together with our treatment and monitoring, we are also conducting awareness campaigns. Because what happens is we are more focused on the infested districts, which is Lotoka and Lambasa, but we have to also ensure that the surrounding districts are also well aware of this concern, so that if they have the motive of purchasing or buying termite host materials, could be pot plants, could be timbers from these infested districts, then that's where they have to make a very wise decision, because that one purchase can be a mode of transferring termites from the infested zone to the outer zones. So currently, just for 2017, we have campaigned in schools, Tikina meetings, villages. So as far as our awareness campaign is concerned, carnivals, we have adversely campaigned on termite infestation and its management practices.
So as we speak, which part of Lotoka, or how extensive is the termite affected area in Lotoka? Is it half of Lotoka, or 3/4, or just quarter?
Yeah, okay. What we can say is that currently there is an emergency declaration on Lotoka, and if anyone refers to the emergency declaration, there is zoning being done.
Okay.
So Biosecurity Authority of Fiji zones the termite infestation in hotspot areas, buffer zones, and alert zones. So hotspot areas are areas which has most infestation.
So is public aware of the hotspot zone, or is it just for biosecurity authorities?
The emergency declaration has been gazetted, and gazetted is it's been published to the public. But as we conduct our awareness, we also advise them. We also dispatch this document to them, just to inform them which areas of Lotoka and Lambasa districts are in the hotspot, which areas are safe, which areas are not safe.
Are people taking heed to your campaign awareness projects which you have had till today?
Yes, we can say yes, they are taking heed, but there are instances whereby we do find people breaching the procedures. So when I say breaching the procedures, under the emergency declaration, there is certain prohibitions. Now you are strictly prohibited to take out termite host materials from the infested zone without BEF's prior approval. Now if you have to move any timber materials, soil, etc. out of the infested zone, you have to come and seek BEF's approval, and that would be done after a thorough inspection is done on whatever consignment that has to go out. Now, we have found out during our road enforcements, whereby we do roadblocks, that there are times where people are caught moving things without our approval. Now that's when we come down hard on them and basically penalize them, and we have fines in place. But we have plenty cases, like for example, if I give you figures, till date from 2017 Jan, we have close to approximately 1,600 consignments which has undergone BEF clearance just to move out. So when I say consignments, these are consignments, timber consignments, pot plants. Now we understand that there are demand of these items outside the infested district. So that is the very reason we do not want to prohibit these items.
So you were able to block these things from traveling outside the zone areas.
Yes.
So which means that if I am buying pot plants, or I want to buy soil from the infected areas, right, and I have no knowledge of it, if it does cross the red zone areas and come to Nandi, Singatoka, Suva, then there's a lot of threat, right?
Yes, there is a lot of threat. But
Wow.
as we do that, we also have our offices which is located in all the districts. So what happens is that we work collaboratively.
Yes.
So what happens is that we have received certain calls from our bar office
Yes.
complaining that, hey, look, there's some timber consignments without BEF inspection here in bar.
Okay, I think we've got a caller online on Speak Your Mind. Welcome to the show, Speak Your Mind. Your name and where are you calling from? Okay. Anyway, if you want to call and talk about termites, if you're really concerned about termites, it's in Lautoka area, and like you said, you have restricted areas, and you're putting tight control on things moving from these invested areas to other areas. We'll talk about places like northern areas, rural areas. How are you able to control termites in those areas? And another question that I'd like to ask about this is, do the termites attack the old homes or the newly built wooden houses? So if someone wants to buy a house in Lautoka, right, they need to be very careful as to whether they are buying it from the zoned area or other areas too. So, I mean, we'll take a break and we'll talk about this when we come back. This is Speak Your Mind, and two major parts of Fiji is being faced with termite crisis. One is Lautoka City, and the other is Nambawalu area, to mention? Lambasa area. So is there a risk of termites spreading to outer islands? We were discussing earlier that after TC Winston, there has been a lot of construction work going around to build homes and etc. How do you see that as a risk of termites spreading?
Okay, during post Cyclone Winston, there has been much more demand on construction materials, mainly timbers from the outer islands, from Lautoka district. So what we can say is that the timber materials, which is a host, which can act as a host to termites, and can be a mode of transportation outside to the outer islands.
I've never seen a termite. How big they are, how visible they are.
You can view termites with your naked eyes. It's as big as a...
It just looks like
a bee
ants.
or like
just
ants?
like ants, looks like ants.
Smaller ants or bigger ants, giant ants?
Smaller ants. See, termites have the caste system. It's just like we people have the caste system in our home, division of labor. Father has a different role, mother have different role, children have different roles. Same thing happens here in termite colony. They have different roles, they have different caste system. So the soldier will look small, like ants, and workers similar. They will look in similar size, but morphologically it's different. Workers, they will look like white cream, whereas the soldiers, which protects the colony, looks like orange color.
Yeah.
The head
so
looks
people
like orange
can
color.
differentiate. So when people are planning to build their houses, is timber treatment in Fiji, does it guarantee termite protection?
Yes, it does. That is basically the very advice we give to the general public.
Yeah.
If they are planning to conduct construction or maintenance of houses, especially within the infested districts,
Yes.
then very much for them to purchase or use treated timbers.
How well treated is the timber to guarantee that termites will not penetrate? Does biosecurity have a say in where timber is treated?
That is a very good question. What we can't do is we cannot go into the public space and actually instruct them to purchase this particular
Timber.
treated timber.
Yes.
because the value of money is theirs.
But do you have an access to go to the timber companies to check whether the timber is treated the right way?
Yes, we do. We can go to the timber companies and check if the timbers are treated the right way. But what we do advise is that it has to be treated to the utmost temperature.
Yes.
So that it can be resistant to termite infestation.
Yes.
But like I've said before, the value for money is the public's. But we do advise them during our campaigns that if you need to protect your homes from termite infestation, to deter or daunt any infestation in your homes, you have to use treated timbers. That is the only way you can protect your homes from. And also you have other factors, keeping the surroundings clean, etc.
So where is the focus now? Where are we at this point in time when it comes to overcoming termite crisis in Fiji? How successful has biosecurity been in their awareness and projects to sort of eradicate?
I can say we are extremely successful, because if you look at the data, back in 2009, the infestation was reported in the Lautoka district and Lambasa district. And till date in 2017, we have actually controlled. So past these 7-8 years, we have managed to contain the infestation within those districts. I mean, it's a bit hard to actually eradicate because of their lifestyle. They live 6 to 18 feet underground. That's where they nest. And that is the very reason it's really hard for us to eradicate. But as I mentioned before, we can only contain it within those infested districts. And in order to do that, we absolutely need the public support.
Just out of interest, is Fiji the only Pacific island which has been affected with termites, or are other Pacific islanders, neighboring countries we have?
There are other Pacific islands which are affected by the termites, but not these Asian septum termites.
We are at a bigger risk, you mean to say?
Yes.
It's largely affecting us, and not those outer islands in Fiji, which has become sort of like a concern now. So how much will it cost to do the damage control now? And then those houses, you said about 1,000 plus houses have been damaged by termites. Have these families been helped in somehow? I mean, how are they moving with their day-to-day lives?
Okay, the only way the Fijian government, through BEF, is helping these infested houses, these citizens, is by providing free treatment. So this project is FOC, free of charge. All you have to do is just come down to the office. But as far as the building materials is concerned, aiding them with building materials to build their homes, currently we do not do that. When the project started back in 2009, that was the initiative from the Fijian government to actually aid them with these materials. But as we have stepped into 2017, all we do now is provide free services, but we do not provide free timbers.
You mentioned earlier that you have actually, the red zone areas where these termites are spreading and they're growing and multiplying, right? So it's a zoned off area. Do you have the technology or the mechanism to dig deep in those areas to destroy them somehow, the breeding grounds? Because you have identified which area is it, right?
Yeah. Okay. So speaking about infestations in the soil, so what we do is the only method which we're using currently is baiting. We do baiting in the soil, just so that we can direct or redirect their channels to the bait boxes and then treat it. But we do not have mechanisms which can detect infestation in the soil. So the only way we can ascertain if there's infestation in the soil is through baiting.
Does this baiting, which is a chemical you use, right? Is it?
No, baiting is different. We have a box. Box, we have the round holes, all surroundings, and then we kept in the substrate layer of the soil. So what happens, we keep some the timbers, the waste timbers in the boxes. So what
so
we
you
do,
attract them, sort
we
of?
attract them. It's just like if you want to call the children, they will not listen to you. So you show them some lollies, they will all come to you. It's just like that. Show them give them some food, and they'll come to you. And once we have the enough colony in the more population of termites in a chamber, then we apply the pesticide.
So I've also seen in your awareness campaign that you're telling people that from this particular time, maybe I think it's about 5 to 8 p.m. or something, or even when it gets a bit
Yeah,
darker
it was the evening.
in
6
the
to 8,
evening, that
8:30.
the people light fire or something, and termites are attracted. Do you see that happening in the termite affected zone areas? Are people doing that?
Yes. So during this swarming period, which we have just passed, what the operational team was doing in Lotoka and Lambasa was they were going around during during the evenings to for mobile awareness. That is to inform the public that they have to turn off all the lights, light a fire outside just to attract the flying termites. And as they do that, they see that yes, the public are already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this is a way for us to suppress flying termites.
Why did biosecurity think it was a need to bring termite to public attention? Is it a real threat to Fiji? Is it a serious threat to Fiji?
Well, it is a threat to Fiji. It is a threat to the people because it costs economical. It has a economical downfall to the general public, and of course, people who are owning homes in those infested areas. So in a way, it does affect the general public, and that is the very reason the Fijian government is investing in this project.
Okay, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'd like to know who are your stakeholders and how does Ministry of Agriculture come into play, because you did mention earlier that they do affect plants. So is agriculture, Fiji's agriculture, being posed with threat also with termites now damaging houses and agriculture? Right after the break. Welcome back on Speak Your Mind. We're talking about termites, and whenever I see the termite campaign TV ads, I do get worried, I do get concerned, and I say, what if it travels to central divisions or even from Nandi, Singatoka and Vanuatu, as you mentioned? Is there a possibility of termites being trapped in someone's shoes or in luggage and travel to other places? Is there a possibility?
Yes. Especially during the swarming period where they fly around. So what happens, it can get stuck to your whatever t-shirt you're wearing or your clothes, or even because during their swarming period they get attracted to light. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you in your car on the road, then it can also get attracted to the bonnets or whatever, and that can be a mode of transportation out of the infested zone.
Do you fear that it could have happened along the way all these years and must have traveled somewhere, and they are building colonies which we are not aware of? I wouldn't want to think about that, but just hopefully not.
Hopefully not, yeah.
Yes.
But people do they doubt if they see any symptoms and signs. They do call us, and our officers do attend the complaints. Mm-hmm. So far, we have found negative outside the red zone.
So how has the government grants help people recover so far?
As far as people recovering from the damages is concerned, how the government grant has helped us is just to provide free treatment, and then monitoring thereafter after our initial treatment is done. Mm-hmm. But as I mentioned before, BEF does not provide construction materials. Yes. So the government grant is basically just for this operation. All the expenses which are included in this operation, treatment, purchase of chemicals, materials. We also have thermal detectors, which is a mechanism used to detect infestation behind the walls, or perhaps if there's a double wall. So if there's any infestation behind the wall, yes, what the thermal detectors do is it reads out the reflectance, read out the insect temperature. So you'll have a fair idea that it does not confirm that there is yeast infestation behind the wall, but it does give you a fair idea that there is certain level of infestation, and then you can use your other methods, your other signs to conclude that if it's yeast infestation, and then you can do treatment.
So how long does it take the termites to destroy a wooden house?
As mentioned before, we cannot give the exact time period it takes for them to break down a home. But what we can say is that it is the most destructive, and it has the fastest feeding rate.
The
from the other
feeding,
setting
the
species.
feeding, the mode of feeding is very, very amazing, very surprising. If you're going to know about it, how they feed in the inside the timber, and just like they leave hollow inside, and outside surface will be like thin structure, just like a paper. So you won't be noticing that the termite has infested. After somehow, if you're going to accidentally poke something, maybe your pen, pencil, or the screwdriver, it will go inside, direct into the timber.
Okay.
Then you'll get
It's
to
like
know.
a film covering, sort of.
Something
thin
like
layer.
that. Yeah, thin layer. The surface, it will be exactly the structure will be exactly like that. But the damage is inside. It will make hollow.
So how can anyone maintain their homes to keep it free from termite? Is there something that we can do?
Yes, of course. That is the very reason we need all the support of the general public, because what we do advise them during our awareness campaigns is to leave the surroundings and the inside of the house clean. And by saying this, what I mean is that the termites, the two factors which discourages infestation within the homes are sunlight and wind. So if you expose the inside of the house to enough sunlight and enough wind, then it in a way discourages infestation inside. And then we also advise them, if you have to have flower gardens around the house, it has to be certain meters away from the building itself, so that the surroundings are kept dry. Because what happens is the moisture aids them in their infestation, to increase the infestation within the building. The building, yeah.
Okay.
So these are the ways we can actually deter termite infestation. And if you have to keep firewoods, it is because, as mentioned before, they live 6 to 18 feet in the soil. So as you leave the timber or firewoods directly on the soil, what happens is that you are inviting them to the surface of the soil. And then from the surface of the soil, when they have done enough, they have got whatever food that there is in that pile of timber, then what they do is they move to the next nearest source of food, which may be your home. Yeah. So that is the very reason we do not want any timber materials to be kept directly on the soil. If you have to just stack them properly on blocks or whatever, some kind of iron sheet, just so that it breaks the interaction from the timber itself to the termite.
I think it's a very important point to ponder on, and not only that, but to act on. You see, Ronak and Janesh, we most of the time through our airwaves, our radio stations, and our television, we try to remind people, and sort of like as our responsibility, to tell people, do not litter, do not throw rubbish carelessly, be a responsible citizen, all these things. We do our job, but it's time that people take heed and become responsible to ensure that we help biosecurity to eradicate termites, so that our coming generations will be free from termite. We will take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Monica with us, who's a vet biologist, and she's going to talk about a project where we're trying to get rid of so-called American iguana. We'll still continue talking about termites. We wanted to know, will termites, is it a threat to our vegetation and our crop? We'll talk about that in our next break. So this is our last segment on Speak Your Mind. We are talking about termites, termite crisis in Fiji, how threatening is it? And Monica now joins us on this talkback show. Monica, you are a vet biologist, right? And we're going to talk about the American iguanas soon, because they have become a nuisance too, I think, in outer islands, Tavuni and some other islands which we have. So, Ronak, let's talk about termites. Are they damaging our crops as well?
What we can say is that it damages horticulture, flowering plants, trees especially. It does not pose any direct threat to the vegetation or perhaps agricultural product.
Earlier, you mentioned about the enforcement, the acts which you have been vested with biosecurity. What rights does biosecurity have under these acts, and how enforced are these acts?
Okay, so as far as the act is concerned, we have as mentioned before, we have an emergency declaration in place, and under the emergency declaration, the Biosecurity Act is within that district. The Biosecurity Act supersedes all other acts. So we do roadblocks. We can have spot checks on timber companies, on supermarkets, all other things which we may suspect can be a host.
Have you carried out any such inspection, and how many?
Yes, we are conducting inspections in around the timber yards in Lautoka district and Lambasa district, and we are also advising them of the movement, the proper procedure which has to be followed. If they have to, for them to basically advise their customers when they come and buy timbers on the procedures which has to be followed in order for the consignment to move out. And so basically we have conducted this, and as far as roadblocks are concerned, we conduct roadblocks on the perimeter of the infestation. So if you take Lautoka, for example, and then you have the perimeter of the infestation, which is the outer infestation, then we do conduct roadblocks to ensure that no termite host material is transported out of the zone illegally.
Okay. We talked a lot about Lautoka area. You mentioned that termites are in Vanuatu area. Which areas in Vanuatu is mostly affected?
Okay, so there is 13 areas in Vanuatu which are infested with AST. I'll just name a few. There is Vale Basonga, which has the most infestation, which is reported the most infestation. Then
more than Lautoka, you mean to say?
No. Comparing the areas only in Lambasa district, so that has the most infestation, and the least would be Zawera and Urata, which has only 1 cases each. So the same, we also have a team established in the north to basically do treatments and conduct monitorings of these infested sites.
So, Monica, do you play a role in trying to eradicate termites, or you're only confined to American iguana?
No, I'm only confined to American iguana because it's an invasive alien species. So I think entomologists, we all come into a group and then we discuss, because any invasive species.
How large is the situation with this iguana, this species of iguana we're talking about?
It's getting increasing. The concerns are increasing. Although the number of iguana we have in like a level of control in Fiji, we have tried to start at a very early stage so that we can nip it in the bud before it gets to a higher level. For example, if you compare to overseas countries like Florida and Puerto Rico, where this giant invasive iguana, which we call, has really devastated the area in terms of they eat plants, because they are primarily herbivorous. So they basically eat any plant material. So there's a major crop destruction for our country as well.
So which islands have been infested with this iguana?
Currently, it is infested in Gamia, Lodala, Matangi Island, Taviuni. There were also recently news that they were spotted in Savu Savu. So it's a bit
so
of
it's
alarming.
It's getting a bit closer to mainland, you mean to say?
Yes, they swim very long distance as well, and also we are tropical cyclone affected. Fiji is prone to a cyclone, so they can be swept away by the waves, or maybe, who knows.
How many do we have in Fiji at the moment?
How many? It's hard to estimate the numbers. In terms of how many we have caught so far, it's around like 100 adults we have caught so far from this beginning till now. And the females lay like around 17 to 70 eggs per time. So we have like caught like around 1,000, nearly close to 1,000 eggs so far.
Are people in these outer islands, are people cooperating with you to find or to find the places where they're breeding so that we can, get rid of
Yes,
it?
they do. That's how we got to know the Sabu Sabu one. I think a fisherman spotted it while fishing, so he called biosecurity, and he helped us to capture that. So he saw two, and one escaped. So we're still scared that the other one is there, but we did a massive
Search.
campaign and awareness in Savu Savu, and we're very thankful to Savu Savu settlement and villages that they helped us a lot because they were really alarmed by this creature. They thought it's a weird looking creature. It's a bit scary, so they were scared as well. So we did our best to calm them down that it's just a reptile, a small
Yes.
reptile.
So who are Ronak? Who are your stakeholders who are helping you to get over the termite crisis in Fiji?
Currently, what we have planned, we do collaborate with stakeholders. We do collaborate with SRIF, Sugar Research Institute of Fiji, to conduct inspections on sugarcane farms, because termite infestations also were found in sugarcane patches in Lautoka and Lambasa. So we have SRIF on board, we have the police force on board, and to basically monitor the movements on the road, and to ensure that no illegal movement of termite host materials take place.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ronak and Monica. And earlier we were with Janesh, but before we sign off, I'd like to remind our viewers and our listeners on Gold FM at the Nandi International Airports, we have biosecurity officers. Please do cooperate with them when it comes to complying to certain acts, because they're there to safeguard you and our country and our generations to come. Thank you very much for coming on this show. It was very interesting to learn and know a lot about termites. And for people who live in Lautoka area and outer islands, and when it comes to termites and iguanas, I'm sure you must have learned a lot, and you will definitely consult or get in contact with biosecurity if you do find something unusual happening in your areas, whether it's iguana or termites. I'll see you again next week on Tuesday, and we're going to talk on a very hot topic, which is cybercrime. Thank you for joining me on Speak Your Mind this week.